Online sports gambling companies are buying state elections. Uh huh. Got that for you. And again, we're going to try and do the famous beer test and saluting a true American hero. Welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show. We are live on YouTube and Rumble. And thank you for popping by. Appreciate it. Good to have you along. Morning, Danny. Almost Friday. Oh, I hope so. Hope everything is okay after yesterday. Yeah, I've always been honest with you guys, and so this is not going to be any different. I told you years ago that I had a horrific uh, eczema all over my body, especially my hands and feet. And my feet have become extremely bad. I have a small toe on my left foot, which has become infected, and it is unbelievably painful, but it comes and goes. Sometimes it hits me, and sometimes it doesn't. And it's okay, it's just tingly. And when those bouts of that pain come, there I cannot function. And what's happened 2 days now is that I've been hit by one right in the middle of the show. And so honestly, I just had no choice. I had to end it and go deal with the pain. That's why. So I'm seeing doctors. They're trying to do their best, but yeah, that is why. Just again, I'm always honest on this show. That is why I had to end the show early. Hopefully, that will not happen this morning. We'll see where we go. Also, the most wonderful time of the year: New England Patriots first preseason game tonight. Wow, that seems early, but maybe not, I guess. All right, let's go. Speaking of sports, this is a weird one. Online sports gambling companies are buying state elections. Now, it's just out of control. I've never seen a state house race in Kansas worth $150,000 dropped into it. But basically, anyone that they thought they would be able to sway their vote got a lot of money. This is a weird one. You got to follow along. The Kansas Constitution explicitly states that schemes for distribution of prize by chance or gambling operations are forever illegal in the state of Kansas. Now, despite that nearly 170-year-old rule, online sports gambling organizations have found a cutout that allows them to legally operate in Kansas. And now that they're in, they are spending insane amounts of money in state congressional races to make sure the state does what they want. DraftKings, FanDuel, Bet365, they have indirectly spent nearly $500,000 in Kansas state primaries this year alone through a super PAC called American Conservative Fund, according to the organization's campaign finance report. And in each one of those races, the contributions alone dwarf the typical total amount spent on an entire state level election. 2022, Kansas state legislature passed a bill that legalized sports wagering by requiring gambling companies to operate through 4 state-owned lotteries. They bypassed the constitutional ban on gambling operations, and that tied the interests of sports betting companies to Kansas state politics. That might have been where things went sour. Now, because the lotteries are technically state owned, a portion of the revenue collected by gambling companies is given to the state, which then uses those according to their budgets. The problem is, this system is that gambling companies have an incentive to try to control how they spend those funds. They wanted the funding to go to the item they choose versus having it actually go to, oh, I don't know, funding schools, things like that, where other states normally use their lottery funding. Kansas Rep. Samantha Partial told the Federalist they didn't want the change. They didn't want that to change, so they're worried about what's being done with tax revenue. According to her, 80% of the state tax revenue that it collects from lotteries goes to attracting professional sports to Kansas Fund. What? It's aimed at supporting professional sports teams and facilities in the state. Currently involved in a major deal with the Kansas government and the Kansas City Chiefs, which will spend about $2 billion to help the team build a new professional football stadium. 2025, Kansas state legislator had the chance to include a provision in the state budget that would allow them to review and potentially change how the lottery funds get used each year. According to Partial, gambling operations opposed the provision because they didn't want the legislator to take a closer look at what was being done with the tax revenue they raised from sports betting. If passed, the elected representatives from Kansas could cut back the amount of money going to sports and entertainment industries that feeds the sports betting companies. That provision failed in 2025, but 2026 midterms are coming, and they need to make sure their desired line items get kept in the state budget. As a result, sports betting companies started a major spending campaign and deluged Kansas state primaries, elevated politicians into office who they thought would protect their influence in state spending. And according to Partial, it is out of control. The last election cycle, you didn't see nearly this amount of money put into any race. Says, I've never seen a House race in Kansas with 150,000 dropped into it. Basically, anybody they thought would be able to sway their vote, they got a lot of money. And these companies have no legal spending limits. They decided it's worth spending overwhelming dollars in Kansas alone to push their favorite politicians. Unbelievable. The political message, it has nothing to do with their gambling policy. DraftKings, Bet365, they're not getting conservatives elected to protect the border or secure elections. The fact that their actual policy interests are all hidden below the surface of their positionally vague but monetarily significant support for these candidates makes their spending campaigns even more dangerous. American Conservative Fund, the values they look for in Republican candidates include protecting our neighborhood, cutting taxes and fees, less government bureaucracy, but the money trail shows their interests have nothing to do with conservative values. Their financiers will support candidates, it doesn't matter what party they belong to, if they believe that they will give them what they want. American Conservative Fund never respond to any request for a comment. The common denominator between the two opposing political action groups is that they're both funded by the same online gambling conglomerates who all have an interest in promoting loose sports gambling policies in state legislatures. Georgia, Illinois, all have problems just like this, where these online sports betting companies are funding political campaigns for the guys they have no cap. They have no one looking to see what it is they're doing and how much they're doing it. This is dangerous, very dangerous. Man, unbelievable. The race card. Oh, yeah. The left has overplayed the race card so much that at this point, it's just white noise. There's an old saying in conservative circles that says when a liberal calls you a racist, it means you're winning the argument. And for the most part, that's true. Leftists love shouting racist reflexively, that not thoughtfully. When they don't know what else to say, they scream racism. And also, their responses to conservatives are based on fictional evil characters that, in their minds, justify their unhinged responses to anything we say or do. A classic example from recent times is the noxious diaper filling lefties experience whenever they see a MAGA hat, like the one I've got right back there on my desk. Make America great again. Racism in the Democrats' fever dream. Now, look, I'm not saying that racism has been eradicated in the U.S. It certainly has not, or in any place in the world. But I would not for a moment indulge the leftist garbage idea that this country hasn't evolved for the better regarding race. It's yet another core belief assertion of leftists that has simply no basis in reality. It's also the primary fuel for the Democrat Party's victimhood machine. Guess which prominent 21st century figure is most responsible for that? His High Holiness, the light bringer, Barack Hussein Obama, who should have been all the proof anybody needs that the U.S. has indeed moved into a better place when it comes to race. Sadly, our first black president looked around at his taxpayer-funded mansion and saw oppression in every room. 9.5 years after Obama said goodbye to his presidency, went off to make a fortune from Netflix, his wife is still doing interviews and acting as if she were forced to ride in the back of the struggle bus the whole time she was First Lady of the U.S. It's a bit much, but even for those of us who have strong stomachs, we put up with it. In addition to squawking racism like Tourette's syndrome plagued parrots, leftists like to talk a lot about white privilege. Whatever the hell that is. Seriously, I have been white my whole life. I've checked the records, and I have no idea what that means. Lefties would probably say, that's proof. I've enjoyed my whole life. I say, it's proof they're full of bison manure. Bison manure. Bullshit. White privilege. That's been in the news a lot lately, especially this week after the WNBA's Carrington blamed it for her being thrown out of a game while trying to break Sophie Cunningham's nose and neck. Rick covered some of it this week. Carrington insisted she wasn't referencing her ejection when she posted her white privilege comment to social media. even though she did so about 42 seconds after being tossed out of the game. Her complaint, sorry, didn't move me, just became another piece of dead rumble, mumble, bumble. And not just because I'm mostly dead inside. Carrington's a 28-year-old woman who makes a basic base salary of about $650,000 a year to travel, have everything paid for, and to play a game. Michelle Obama, no doubt proud of her performance, victimhood. My life, my work going very well, but I can assure you that my privilege ain't paying that kind of money. Oh, far, far, far from it. If I made even an eighth of that, I would be remote working from some exotic beach and not bitching about anything except the temperature of the beer. That'd be about it. Now, the boy who cried wolf employment of the race card almost certainly keeps your proper attention from being paid. Two incidents of racism that honestly should be dealt with. By the time we hit the third and fourth highly publicized hate crime hoax of the year, though people start to tune out, under the direction of the racial division choir master Barack Obama, lefties have been shouting racism so much, at this point it's just become background noise. Nobody, least of all us, really give a crap anymore. People don't pay attention to this. We're sick of it. We're tired of it. Even some of the left is tired of it. It's like living by the railroad tracks. Eventually, you don't hear the train anymore. Now, note the majority of the racist victim chorus is made up of white liberals who insist that they're down with the struggle, usually in very condescending ways. Who can forget lily white California Governor Gavin Newsom trying to bond with a black audience by telling them that he was a crappy student? A lot of the actual racism on public display comes from Democrats who are just simply pandering, or they think they are, to black voters. I happen to know that black voters are smarter than that. And 99.9% of them can see right through it. As long as Democrats keep lying to people and telling them things like that, when it comes to race relations, the America of 2026 is pretty much the same as the America of 1956. No meaningful dialogue can be had about this subject. That does more to perpetuate this problem than anything else. Danny, I was 21 when Obama was president. My sister said he's going to divide the country with race, and damn, she was right. Boy, was she ever. She was only 25 and she saw it coming. It's been true, and we have not been the same. Right, your sister was spot on. All right. What else we got going on here? El Said. Oh, here we go again. El Said's rather alarming comment of Sharia until I die. Well, that little comment has kind of come back to bite him in the ass. The more we learn about this Abdul El Sayed who beat Haley Stevens in the Michigan Democratic Senate primary about a week ago, the more it becomes extremely clear the direction in which the Democratic Party as a whole is headed. Since he got the nomination, we've learned that El Sayed loves Ilhan Omar, who, by the way, did you notice she just broke up with her fiance? Not covering it today. Anyway, he hates Independence Day, likes open borders, hates the Second Amendment, hates beautiful Mackinac Island, and has mocked the brown children of Vice President J.D. Vance. How nice. Great guy. Now, an old quote made by El Sayed to the Times back in 2006 has resurfaced, and he pledged his lifelong obligation to Sharia law. Ultimately, this is from the Free Beacon. Ultimately, the question is when I die and I stand before God and go through everything I did in my life, I don't want to say I did it the easy way instead of the Sharia compliant way. Not because of fear, but because of obligation, said El Sayed. The Times identified at the time as a 24-year-old medical student and a Rhodes Scholar who'd taken out a Sharia compliant mortgage to buy a $123,000 condo in Ann Arbor. Sharia, or what is basically Islamic religious law, has very, very strict rules for living that includes unbelievably harsh restrictions on women, gruesome medieval type forms of criminal justice, prohibits the paying or earning of interest, restriction which has led some banks to offer special mortgages for devout Muslims like El Sayed, which tack into the principal whatever a typical borrower would pay, but not calling it interest across the life of the loan. Well, while the young El Sayed may have been talking about how his obligation to Sharia law affected his financial matters, it is very clear that in the intervening years he has been compliant in every aspect of his life. But he doesn't talk about it, doesn't like talking about it. Recent poll in the Religious News heralded El Sayed's primary win as a milestone for American Muslims. His victory, they wrote, is a watershed moment for Muslim political representation in the country. There are only 4 Muslims who currently serve in the U.S. House. Michigan native Nada al-Hanuti. Abdul's victory shows Muslims belong in American politics. And when we're in positions of leadership, we're not only serving the Muslim community, we're serving all Americans. El Sayed tried to downplay the role of Islam in his everyday life. When on the campaign trail, he comes out with swinging both arms when he gets pushed on the matter. 2022 speech, Oklahoma Chair Conference. He said, "You cannot understand the challenges we face today without understanding," here we go, "white supremacy." Continued El Sayed in his remarks, he said, quote, "I don't have to tell you that the exact forces that drove native peoples from their land 2 centuries ago destroyed Black Wall Street a century ago, bombed a building decades ago, and tried to ban Sharia law not a decade ago. But those forces are alive and well today." Mr. El Sayed can insist that his politics are secular all he wants. But voters, well, voters are entitled to take his own words very, very seriously, and you should. When a man seeking a seat in the U.S. Senate says he has an obligation to follow Sharia law until he dies, well, it is well worth taking a very close look at exactly what this man stands for. Scary, scary stuff. All righty. You got your hand phone? I got mine right here. You got your mobile cell phone service provider? Is it Patriot Mobile? What? It's not. What are you waiting for?
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
PatriotMobile.com/J, J-A-Y. Get signed up. All of your money goes to the company, and when the company supports groups and organizations, they support ones that believe what you and I believe in. They are a Christian conservative company. They do not give money to these lefty causes. And if you use our link in the description down below, head over to patriotmobile.com/J and use the code J, J-A-Y. You will get your first month free. Yep, get signed up. You keep your phone, you keep your number. The only thing that changes is where your money goes. And they've got plans there that'll fit right into your budget. A 100% US-based customer service staff, and they're there to help. They really are. They're great people. PatriotMobile.com/J. All right. Oh, Texas. Texas, Texas. This is quite a plot twist. Liberal women in red states that have restricted or banned abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy have reportedly fled to blue, for example, abortion-friendly states like Massachusetts, in order to get an abortion without an issue. However, on Tuesday, a surrogate mother reportedly fled from California to Texas in order to save the baby she is carrying for a California couple. Yeah, I told you, plot twist. The reason? After testing revealed that the preborn child would be born with a birth defect, the couple allegedly demanded the surrogate mother have an abortion. I know. Well, now Texas Attorney General and Republican nominee for U.S. Senate Ken Paxton has stepped in a 58-page brief. Paxton moves for the state of Texas to intervene in the medical decisions of the preborn child over the intended parents and demands that Dallas hospitals administer life-saving treatment to this unborn child after he is born. Wow. At around the 20-week mark, the child, now known as Baby Gabrielle, was diagnosed with in utero hypoplastic left heart syndrome, HLHS. It's a very, very serious congenital heart defect. It is almost always fatal unless they receive immediate treatment. But with the three-stage treatment involving the Norwood procedure shortly after birth, followed by two others within the first 3 years of life, baby Gabrielle would have around a 70% chance of survival. According to the brief, baby Gabrielle's intended parents allegedly demanded that the surrogate mom, McKenna West, abort the child. West reportedly refused and then headed off to Texas for protection. West did this deliberately to ensure that she, one, gets the protection Texas affords the preborn, and two, to ensure that baby Gabrielle would be near doctors who are experienced in treating HLHS. The intended parents have refused to agree they will consent to the life-saving surgery upon birth and may attempt to transport the child out of Texas to prevent treatment from being administered. Are you kidding me? Have I ever heard of a more heartless couple of people in my life? What is the matter with you people? Monsters. You don't deserve this baby if it was 1,000% perfectly healthy. Walked out with a smile on his face, dancing the merengue. If that's where your heads and hearts are at, sorry, you do not deserve children in any way, shape, or form. Talk about deliberate cruelty. This dystopian world, like the Canadian gay couple that sued the surrogate mother because she refused to abort the child at 22 weeks simply because it would have been born with a cleft palate. Highly treatable condition, by the way. The intended parents, man, this is burning my ass. They have stated they will refuse to consent for surgery and allow the child to die. Let that sink in. This is allegedly the intention of the California couple who want to take baby Gabrielle out of UTSW in Dallas. They want to let him die because he's defective, even though his condition is absolutely treatable. 70% chance of survival is a good chance. I'll take those odds. Paxton and his team at the AG's office in Texas standing against it. The child is going to be born in Dallas County and will be a person, a Texan, and this court's ward in the oldest sense of the parents' PATRIOT tradition. The agreement that arrangement his conception cannot require his death. There is a hearing going on that McKenna is going to appear at this Texas hearing that could determine who gets to make medical decisions about baby Gabrielle. If the buying parents want to make the decision, they may just offer him comfort care, basically just leave him to die. McKenna wants to make sure that baby Gabrielle gets life-saving surgery. So very soon we will see, and our prayers go out to McKenna and Paxton, and most especially baby Gabrielle. Unbelievable. The world that we live in. All right, finally, we can get around to this story. I've been waiting for 3 days. The famous beer test and why commies always fail it. There's an old apocryphal saying, generally attributed to Ben Franklin. Beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. I love old Ben. Now, I don't know if Mr. Franklin actually said that or not, but you gotta admit it is a very Ben Franklin sort of thing to say. I've been known to sit down in front of a few frosty glasses of beer from time to time, or maybe pop open a cold, tall can on a warm Sunday afternoon. I like beer, not a huge fan, but I'll also admit I'm a bit choosy about who I drink it with, as are a lot of folks. That's why the beer test is actually a thing. It's sort of an informal poll on the personality of political candidates, in which the question is, which candidate would you rather have a beer with? Chuckled reading the New York Times story this morning about Nebraska Independent Senate candidate Don Osborne, whose interesting take on the two traditional parties is, I think they both kind of suck. The Times, of course, is stroking Osborne for the same reason the Democratic Party is promoting him. He's running against Republican Pete Ricketts, which is fine and logical. But this was funny. Off the stump, Mr. Osborne passes the political test of a guy you'd like to have a beer with. He's loose, chatty, goofy, prone to saying stuff that would give the average campaign consultant a heart attack. Now, the history of the beer test goes back really to the 2000 elections, as Mr. Taibbi points out. The beer test was once a massively overused campaign reporting cliche, grew out of a Sam Adams ad campaign in the 2000 race, and from the Bush Gore through the 2016 cycle, it was nearly impossible to escape the beer test challenge. Then Donald Trump won the 2016 beer test by default. Kind of hard to imagine sitting down with Hillary and having a beer at all, let alone a cup of tea. Leading even Slate to pronounce there has never been and perhaps never will be a candidate you'd be more eager to have a beer with than Donald Trump. And boy, you know what? Think about it. How true is that? The notion of Hillary having a beer at all, I mean, come on. Her Imperial Majesty Hillary Clinton, Dowager Empress of Chappaqua, including a drink for peasants? Oh, I don't think so. The very thought. So, I mean, Trump just wins that one by default. But with the current crop of democratic socialists, also known as commies, like Zoran Mondani, Abdul El Sayed, Francesca Hong, well, how would they do? Apparently, not very well. One primary reason nobody's much going to want to have a beer with any of them. Primarily, one, like communists and socialists everywhere, they are some of the most utterly humorless lump on logs that you would ever encounter in your life, even if you live to be 1,000. Seriously, these people. Besides, you will never convince me that any of those people I just mentioned have ever even had a beer. They probably go, something feminine and bubbly like a Zinfandel spritzer. I just spit. And don't get me started on what the women might drink. If you can figure out who among them are the women, that'd be the tough part. So remember that when you're thinking about who to vote for. Who would you have a beer with? I know. All right. Oh, man. We got to keep telling you about these stories because they keep coming up. They're not going to go away. Danny says Carmela would love to have a beer with someone. She's always practicing before her appearances. How true is that? All right. Yet another story of a little California injustice. This scum of the earth got released not once, but twice. And then you know what he did? He went out and randomly murdered somebody. We see these stories all too often. Suspect charged with a crime, liberal judge lets him walk, and then he goes out and commits more crimes. And in this case, that crime is allegedly cold-blooded random murder. When will the criminal justice reform crowd finally admit that their soft on crime policies don't work and they lead to nothing but mayhem and death? The suspect had been released not once, but twice before he showed up in a suburban neighborhood in the East San Francisco Bay city of Martinez and stabbed 68-year-old Todd Stewart to death. The victim trying to build a shed in his backyard. It was a preventable tragedy, like so many of these damn cases seem to be. Happened in Stewart's home in Francis Court. Neighbor Galina Pasternak said Stewart had been building a shed when the suspect attacked him. According to police, Iriarte Valdez, initially on a pretrial release in connection with residential burglaries in Orinda in April, August 4th, police rearrested him for allegedly violating a home detention monitoring rule. And the next day, August 5th, a judge ordered him released on his own recognizance. And the next day, he went out and killed Mr. Stewart. The murderer was caught on a neighborhood surveillance camera. Police arrested him Friday evening. They were able to match the car to the one seen in the video. I'm not playing the video. It's horrific. Residents of the area saddened by the justice, infuriated also by the justice system failing yet again. The neighbor said, "I'm angry and I'm sad. I absolutely believe this murder could have been prevented." The suspect and the victim have no known connection. Alleged sicko is now behind bars. Oh, just give it some time. They'll probably let him out again. Murder charges held on $1.1 million bail, which is all well and good. But you know what? It doesn't bring Todd Stewart back now, does it? It is long past time that we move on from this asinine criminal justice reform and turn our attention back to something that used to be known as accountability. Remember that? Yeah. An absolute tragedy that absolutely did not need to happen. We need some good news, and I'm going to wrap it up with this because this is so nice. This is so sweet. I might get a copyright strike. I don't care. It's worth sharing it. A young boy was at a bank with his grandmother, and he spotted a US veteran standing in line at the bank. He walked right up to the veteran. No hesitation, just pure respect. This is the America that I know is still out there. Have a look.
Yeah, I have a customer. I saw him come. He's getting so tall. Have a good start of school. Oh, he don't care. And I will forget them and who learned who gave that right to me and gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Wow. What an amazing young man. Sadly, it does not list his name or his grandma's name or the veteran's name. But that's okay. Those people are out there. They still exist. Pure respect. And that is the America that we all know and love. All right. Thank you. We made it through a whole show. First time for everything. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, right? Yeah, Thursday. Sorry. You see how it gets? Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We'll be back again tomorrow with the Friday edition. You can't do that to a pregnant hormonal lady, says Danny. Sorry, I just did. We'll see you tomorrow.